It was a typical afternoon when I returned home, expecting nothing out of the ordinary. But the moment I stepped inside, I was greeted with an unexpected tension that weighed heavy in the air. My daughter, Emily, was sitting on the couch, her arms crossed tightly over her chest, a scowl on her face. Her eyes were narrowed, filled with a mixture of anger and betrayal. "Mom, we need to talk," she said, her voice shaking with frustration. I knew something was wrong. Her tone had changed, the sweetness I was used to replaced by something colder, more distant. "What's going on, honey?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm, though a sense of unease began to gnaw at me. "You've been stealing from me," she blurted out, her words hitting me like a slap across the face. I froze. Stealing? From her? "What are you talking about?" I stammered, my heart racing as confusion and disbelief set in. "Don't act innocent, Mom," she snapped. "I know you took the money from my room. I keep track of everything, and now it's gone. My savings, my things." Her eyes were filled with hurt, but there was an edge of accusation that cut deep into me. My mind was spinning. I couldn't understand it. Emily, my daughter, accusing me of stealing? It didn't make sense. Sure, I'd been a bit careless with my finances lately, but never in a million years would I steal from my own child. My thoughts raced as I tried to make sense of her words. I felt betrayed, shocked, and hurt all at once. "I didn't take anything from your room, Emily. You have to believe me," I said, my voice softening as I reached out to her, desperate for some sign of the daughter I had raised with love. But she pulled back, her eyes narrowing. "Then explain why everything is missing. Explain why my money is gone, Mom. I've worked hard to save that. You promised you'd never touch it. But now, you've gone and broken that promise." The words cut deeper than I expected. She was so certain, so angry. And there I was, standing in front of her, caught in the middle of a storm I didn't even understand. It was impossible for me to wrap my head around this. My daughter was accusing me of something I'd never dream of doing. I turned away, my hands trembling slightly. "I don't know what's happening, Emily, but I swear I didn't take your money." Her voice grew colder. "You're lying, Mom. I know you took it. I saw your wallet the other day, and now it's all gone." I felt a knot form in my stomach. Could it really be true? Had I somehow done something to make her believe this? My mind was a whirlwind of emotions. Fear, confusion, betrayal. How could this be happening? "Emily," I whispered, my voice shaky. "I've never lied to you. You know me better than this." But she was having none of it. "I'm done, Mom. Don't act like I'm the problem here. You've crossed a line, a big one." She stood up abruptly and walked toward her room, her steps heavy with anger. I stood frozen for a moment, the weight of her accusation sinking in. This wasn't just a simple misunderstanding. Something was terribly wrong, and I had no idea where it was coming from. Was she being manipulated, or had I unknowingly done something to push her to this point? I needed answers. I had to figure out what was really going on. Before I could stop myself, I started to follow her down the hallway, my mind racing. "Emily, wait!" I called out, my voice shaking. "Please, we need to talk about this." But she didn't turn around. Her door slammed shut behind her, leaving me standing there, heart pounding in my chest. What had just happened? Was this the same daughter I had raised, the one I'd trusted with my whole heart? I stood there for a moment, the silence deafening. The feeling of betrayal hung thick in the air, and I couldn't help but wonder, what had caused her to accuse me of something so terrible? As I stood there, the only sound in the house was the soft ticking of the clock on the wall. I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. This wasn't just about money. This wasn't just about a simple accusation. There was something bigger at play, something I wasn't seeing yet. I glanced back at the door, unsure of what to do next. Should I confront her again? Should I press her for answers? No, I realized. I needed to take a step back. I had to figure out what was going on in her life, what had changed. With a sigh, I turned and walked toward the kitchen, trying to gather my thoughts. But my mind kept drifting back to Emily's angry words. She was accusing me of stealing, something I could never, ever do. I knew I had to find out the truth, and I knew the only way to do that was by taking matters into my own hands. But where to start? What could I do to uncover what was really happening behind closed doors? But just then, a thought crossed my mind. What if I wasn't the one who needed to explain myself? What if there was something more to this, something I wasn't seeing? What if Emily was hiding something from me, something she didn't want me to know? I had to find out. I couldn't just sit here and wait for her to accuse me further. I needed to know the truth, and I had to find it fast. Before I could talk myself out of it, I made up my mind. I would find out what was really going on in Emily's room. But little did I know, what I was about to discover would change everything, and the truth, when it came to light, would turn my entire world upside down. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more gripping stories. Stay tuned for what happens next. You won't believe how this story unfolds. The silence in the house felt unbearable as I sat at the kitchen table, my hands still trembling from the shock of what Emily had just accused me of. My mind was racing, trying to piece together what had happened. My daughter, my own flesh and blood, was accusing me of stealing from her. It felt like something out of a nightmare, completely unreal. Could I have done something to make her feel this way? I kept replaying the conversation over and over in my head, trying to understand where everything went wrong. I spent the next hour pacing back and forth, my thoughts running wild. I couldn't focus on anything else. The whole idea of stealing from my own daughter was repulsive to me. I had raised her with all the love and care I had to give. I sacrificed so much for her, for our family. And now, to be accused of this, it felt like a slap in the face. I had never, ever touched her personal things. I trusted her enough to respect her privacy, and she knew the same about me. We'd always been close, or at least I thought we were. What had changed? What had made her so angry and distrustful? I decided I needed to talk to her again, to try and clear the air, but as I stood in front of her door, hesitating, I heard her voice from inside. She was on the phone, speaking in hushed tones, as if trying to keep her conversation a secret from me. I took a deep breath, knocked softly on her door, and waited. The moment I heard her footsteps approaching, I felt a knot form in my stomach. She opened the door, but the coldness in her eyes struck me like a physical blow. "Emily," I began, my voice shaky, "we need to talk. Please, let me explain. I swear to you, I didn't take your money." But she just shook her head, her expression hard. "I don't want to hear it," she snapped, stepping back to close the door. "You've already lied to me. You took it, and now I have no reason to trust you." I reached out instinctively, my hand brushing against the edge of the door as she tried to shut it. "Please," I begged, "just let me in. Let me explain. You're wrong about this, Emily." She hesitated for a moment, her eyes darting around as if weighing her options. Then, with a deep sigh, she stepped aside, letting me into her room. It was clear she wasn't interested in listening, but I couldn't give up. I needed to understand what was going on, and more than anything, I needed her to believe me. "I'm not lying to you, Emily," I said again, trying to keep my voice calm and steady. "I don't know why you think I took your money, but I didn't. I would never do that to you." She crossed her arms and looked at me with a mixture of anger and disbelief. "I saw you take it, Mom," she said, her voice filled with certainty. "You've been acting strange lately, and now this. Stealing from me after everything I've done for you." The words stung, but I tried to stay composed. "What do you mean, acting strange? I haven't done anything differently. I've been busy, yes, but that's no reason for you to accuse me of stealing." She shook her head. "You don't get it, do you? I've been trying to help you, to make things easier for you, but you keep pushing me away. And now, when I finally trust you enough to leave my savings in my room, you betray me." Her words hit me harder than I expected. I was speechless for a moment. What was she talking about? How had things gone so far off course? Was this really about money, or was there something deeper at play? "I don't understand, Emily. You've always known how much I've struggled. You've seen how hard I've worked for everything we have. You know that I would never take anything from you." Her eyes filled with tears. Maybe you don't understand me anymore, Mom. Maybe you never did. You've always been so focused on doing everything for everyone else that you've never really seen me, what I need, or what I've been going through. Her words felt like a dagger to my heart. I had tried to be the best mother I could be. I had sacrificed so much for her and our family, yet now I was the villain in her eyes. The love I had poured into her all these years seemed to count for nothing. She was angry, but I couldn't understand why. I've always been here for you, Emily. Always. And I don't know what's changed, but I need you to know that I would never betray you, I said, my voice breaking as I reached out to touch her arm. She pulled away sharply, her eyes hard. You think I'm stupid, don't you? You think I don't know what's been going on, the way you act when you think I'm not looking? I've seen you taking things that aren't yours. I've seen you hiding things around the house. You can't hide it anymore, Mom. The accusation hit me like a ton of bricks. My head spun as I tried to process her words. What was she saying? Hiding things? Taking things? This didn't make sense. Emily, you're not making any sense, I said, my voice trembling now. I don't know what you think you saw, but you're wrong. I've never hidden anything from you. She turned away, pacing the room. You don't get it. I trusted you, and now I feel like a fool. I thought you were different, but you've changed. You're just like everyone else who takes from me, who uses me. I felt a cold shiver run down my spine. What was she talking about? Was this really about money, or was it something more? Had I unknowingly done something to break her trust in me? I'm not like that, Emily, I said, taking a step toward her. I'm your mother. I love you. I would never hurt you. Please, just tell me what's going on. Why are you doing this? She stopped pacing and turned to face me, her face pale. Because I've had enough, Mom. You've lied to me. You've taken from me. And I can't take it anymore. I don't want to see you again until you admit what you've done. Her words stung like nothing else. The finality in her voice crushed me. My daughter, the one I had raised, was rejecting me. How had we gone from a loving, trusting relationship to this? What had happened? I'm not leaving until you listen to me, Emily, I said firmly, trying to hold on to what little composure I had left. I'm not going anywhere until we get to the bottom of this. She shook her head. It's too late for that. I've already made up my mind. You're not the person I thought you were. I can't trust you anymore. With those words, she turned her back to me, and I felt the weight of the betrayal settle in my chest. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over. I couldn't leave it like this. There had to be something more, something I wasn't seeing. She was hiding something, and I was going to find out what it was, no matter what it took. The tension between us was thick, but I wasn't going to give up. I had raised her, loved her, and given everything for her. I couldn't just walk away. I had to know the truth. And so, with a heavy heart and a mind filled with questions, I made a decision. I would find out what was really going on, because something in her room, something hidden, was going to change everything, and I was going to uncover it. The night felt longer than usual, the weight of my daughter's words hanging over me like a dark cloud. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her angry face, her accusations ringing in my ears. I tossed and turned, my mind racing with thoughts of where things had gone wrong between us. My heart ached. I had always tried to be the best mother, the best person I could be, yet here I was, accused of stealing from my own child. It felt like a betrayal, but the worst part was the confusion. I couldn't wrap my head around it. It was impossible to think straight. Emily's eyes, those eyes I'd always trusted, were now filled with something I couldn't recognize. There was an edge to her voice that had never been there before, a coldness. Was she hiding something? Or was I the one who had missed something all along? I couldn't believe that after everything we had been through, the bond we had shared, she would accuse me of stealing. But there was a nagging feeling, a gut instinct that told me there was more to this story. Something wasn't right. I had to figure out what was going on. If there was one thing I knew, it was that I couldn't let this go without answers. I had raised Emily since she was a child. Every day had been an effort to give her the best life I could, to ensure she was loved and cared for. I had worked long hours to provide for us, and I had always been there for her, even when life wasn't easy. So why would she turn on me like this? What had changed? I found myself staring at the ceiling, a million questions racing through my mind. I thought about all the times she had been there for me, all the moments we'd shared. Emily had always been so caring, so thoughtful. She'd never been like this before. So why now? Why accuse me of something so hurtful? There was no way I was just going to let her accusations go unanswered. No way I was going to let her think I had done something so terrible without even trying to prove my innocence. I had to confront this head on. But what if I was wrong? What if I was just overthinking everything? My mind wouldn't allow me to settle on any one answer. The truth was slipping through my fingers, just out of reach. I couldn't wait any longer. I had to know the truth. I needed answers, and I needed them now. My body felt heavy, like I was carrying the weight of 1,000 thoughts as I slowly got out of bed. I moved quietly, trying not to disturb the silence that had settled over the house. It was around 2 a.m. when I found myself standing in the hallway outside Emily's room, my heart pounding in my chest. This was it. I was going to do what I had never done before, go through her things without asking. I had to know what she was hiding. I had always respected Emily's privacy. I never invaded her personal space, never rifled through her belongings. But something was different now. Something was wrong. And I had to uncover it. I couldn't shake the feeling that she was hiding something from me, and if I didn't find out what it was, this whole mess would only get worse. I hesitated for a moment, standing outside her door, my hand on the knob. Could I really do this? Could I betray the trust I had always tried so hard to build with her? The thought made me feel sick to my stomach, but the thought of her accusations, of the idea that she believed I would steal from her, pushed me forward. I had to know the truth. There was no turning back now. I turned the knob slowly and stepped into her room. The room was dimly lit by the faint glow of her nightlight. I could hear her soft breathing from the bed, and for a moment I froze, afraid that she would wake up and catch me. But I had to press on. I had to find out what was going on, even if it meant going against everything I believed about trust and boundaries. I glanced around her room, my eyes scanning every corner. It looked like any typical teenager's room, posters on the walls, clothes scattered around, and a messy desk filled with half-finished homework. But there was something different, something that felt off. Her room was too quiet, too still. I was used to her laughter, her music playing, the sound of her voice on the phone with her friends. But now, there was only silence, the kind of silence that screamed something was wrong. I started by looking at the desk. There was a small pile of papers stacked on the corner, and I couldn't help but wonder if one of them had something to do with the accusations she had made. I shuffled through the papers, my hands trembling as I picked up a few random sheets. Most of them were old-school assignments, things she hadn't bothered to throw away, nothing out of the ordinary. Then my eyes fell on something else. It was a small, leather-bound journal, partially hidden beneath a pile of clothes. I hesitated for a moment, my heart racing. Should I open it? Should I see what she had written? I could feel the weight of the decision in my gut, but curiosity got the best of me. Slowly, I opened the journal to the first page. The handwriting was messy, scrawled in a hurried, almost frantic way. As I read, my stomach twisted in knots. The words weren't about me, thankfully, but they weren't about anything I expected. They were about money, about saving, about dreams of independence and escape. Emily had been planning to leave home, to get away. But what disturbed me most was what followed. It was a list, an itemized list of things she wanted to buy, things she wanted to accomplish with money she had saved up. And at the top of the list was a significant sum, $2,000. My heart sank as I read on. The journal revealed just how much Emily had been planning to leave and live on her own. She had even gone so far as to save up money she was hiding from me. And then, beneath that list, was something even more disturbing. There, in small letters, was a note about her backup plan, a plan in which she would find a way to get money from Mom. My head spun as the realization hit me. This wasn't about me stealing from her. This wasn't about me at all. Emily was hiding something from me. She had been lying to me, manipulating the situation to make me look like the villain, to distract me from her own plans. I didn't know whether to feel relieved or betrayed. In that moment, I realized just how far she had gone to deceive me. All the while, she had been planning her escape and framing me for something I never did. She had set me up, used my own love and trust against me. I closed the journal quickly, my mind racing. I needed to think, to process everything I had just uncovered. There was no doubt now. Emily wasn't the victim here. She was the one who had been playing me, and I had to confront her about it. But I knew one thing for sure now. I wasn't the one who had been stealing from her. She had been stealing from me all along, manipulating the truth to fit her own narrative. I had to find a way to expose the lies, to make her see what she had done. And I wasn't going to back down until I did. I left her room quietly, making sure to leave everything just as it had been. But as I closed the door behind me, I knew things would never be the same. My daughter had betrayed me, and I was going to make sure she knew I wouldn't let this go. The truth had finally come to light, and it was time for Emily to face it. But how would she react? Would she admit to everything? Or would she continue to try and manipulate me? Only time would tell. But one thing was certain. I wasn't going to be played any longer. I couldn't sleep that night. I lay in bed, my thoughts racing. The discovery I'd made in Emily's journal, her hidden savings, her plans, and her backup scheme had left me shaken. My mind kept replaying the moments when she had accused me of stealing from her. I couldn't help but feel a deep sense of betrayal. She had taken something sacred between us, our trust, and twisted it into something unrecognizable. I spent hours staring at the ceiling, my mind caught in a whirlwind of emotions. My thoughts kept circling back to the journal. The revelations inside had shattered everything I thought I knew about my daughter. How had things gotten to this point? How had she gone from the sweet, loving girl I raised to someone who was willing to frame me, her own mother, for something as terrible as theft? The more I thought about it, the clearer it became. Emily wasn't just angry or upset about a missing amount of money. This was bigger than that. She had been planning something for a while, and she had used me as a pawn in her game. But why? What did she want? What was the real reason behind this sudden change in her behavior? And why did she think that accusing me of stealing would solve her problems? The next morning, I woke up early, exhausted but determined. I had to face Emily. I needed answers, and I wasn't going to let her manipulate me any longer. I knew it was going to be a difficult conversation, one that could potentially tear apart the fragile threads that held our relationship together. But I had no choice. I had to uncover the truth, no matter how painful it might be. I waited until the house was quiet. Emily was still asleep in her room, and the silence was almost suffocating. I took the journal I had found and placed it carefully on the kitchen table, where I could see it clearly. It felt like a lifeline to the answers I so desperately needed. I knew I couldn't go on pretending everything was fine, not after what I had discovered. I had to confront her with it, and I had to do it now. I knocked softly on Emily's door, my heart pounding in my chest. I wasn't sure what kind of reaction I was going to get, but I had to go through with it. There was no more avoiding the truth. "Emily, can we talk?" I called out, trying to keep my voice steady, though my nerves were on edge. There was a long pause before I heard her groggy voice from the other side of the door. "What is it, Mom?" she asked, sounding irritated. "I need to talk to you about something important," I replied, trying to keep my tone calm. "Can you please come out for a minute?" There was another pause, and then the door opened slowly. Emily stood there, wearing her pajamas, her hair messy from sleep. Her expression was guarded, her eyes narrowed slightly, as though she was already preparing for some sort of confrontation. "Mom, what's this about?" she asked, crossing her arms over her chest. "I don't have time for another lecture." "I'm not here to lecture you, Emily," I said softly, trying to keep my voice even. I just need to know the truth. About everything. She shifted uncomfortably on her feet, clearly not expecting the conversation to go in that direction. What are you talking about? I walked past her and into her room, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew I had to be calm, but my emotions were getting the better of me. I walked over to her desk and picked up the journal, holding it up so she could see. I found this, I said quietly, and I need you to explain it to me. Emily's face paled as she saw the journal in my hands. Her arms dropped to her sides, and she took a step back. Mom, please just put that down, she said, her voice trembling slightly. I ignored her request and flipped open the journal to the page with the list. Why didn't you tell me about your plans, Emily? I asked, my voice quiet but firm. Why keep it a secret? Why frame me for something I didn't do? Her eyes darted nervously to the floor, and I could see her struggling to come up with an answer. I wasn't going to back down. I had to know why she had done this. Emily, you've been planning to leave. You've been hiding money and making plans for months, and then you accuse me of stealing from you. Why? I demanded, my voice rising slightly in frustration. She swallowed hard, her eyes welling up with tears. I didn't mean for it to go this far, she stammered. I was scared. I didn't know how to tell you. I didn't know how to explain what I was feeling. Feeling? What do you mean, feeling? I asked, my heart aching at the pain in her voice. What have you been feeling, Emily? She sat down on her bed, her face in her hands, and sobbed. The sight of her crying like this, so broken, so lost, shattered my heart. I don't know what happened, she whispered through her tears. I was just trying to get away. I didn't want to be stuck here anymore. I wanted to have my own life, but I couldn't leave without money. And I thought if I accused you of stealing, maybe I could get you to feel guilty and give me the money. I don't know. I just didn't think it through. I stood there for a moment, trying to process what she had said. My heart ached for her. She was so desperate, so lost, and she had let her fear and anger drive her to the brink of betrayal. She didn't want to hurt me, but she had done so anyway. I could see the guilt in her eyes, the regret that was slowly creeping in. Emily, I said softly, sitting down next to her on the bed. I love you. You have to know that. But this isn't the way to solve things. Accusing me of something like this isn't the answer. We're a family, and we have to trust each other. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, Mom. I just felt so trapped. I didn't know what else to do. I wrapped my arms around her, holding her close as she cried. You don't have to hide from me, Emily. We'll figure this out together. But you have to promise me no more lies, no more secrets. I want to help you, but you have to trust me. She nodded into my shoulder, her sobs softening as she clung to me. I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't mean to hurt you. I know, I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. But you can't keep running away from your problems. We'll face them together. As we sat there, holding each other, I realized that the road ahead was going to be difficult. We had both made mistakes, and we both had a lot of work to do to rebuild what we had lost. But I also knew that this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of a new chapter for both of us, one where we could learn to trust each other again and face the challenges that lay ahead together. The weight of the silence in the room pressed down on us like a heavy blanket. Each breath I took seemed louder, and every heartbeat felt as though it echoed through the stillness. Emily had just confessed, and the flood of emotions that washed over me was almost too much to process. Part of me wanted to hug her and tell her everything would be okay, but another part of me couldn't shake the feeling of betrayal, of being lied to in such a cruel way. She had accused me, her own mother, of something unspeakable. And now, after all the damage, we were finally starting to unravel the truth. But the truth wasn't what I had expected. I gently pulled away from her, looking at her face, searching for the daughter I once knew, the daughter I loved. She looked so different now, so broken. The confident, independent woman she had been growing into was suddenly replaced by a girl full of doubt and fear, and in some strange way, I felt a sense of sorrow for her. What had caused this darkness inside her? Was it the pressure of growing up, or had something deeper been festering all along? Emily, I began softly, my voice shaking as I tried to steady my emotions. I need you to tell me everything. Why did you hide this from me? Why didn't you come to me for help instead of resorting to this? I gestured toward the journal on her desk, the evidence of her secret plans to leave, to take what wasn't hers, to frame me for something I hadn't done. Her eyes welled up again, and she buried her face in her hands. She looked so small, so fragile, as though she was no longer the girl I had raised but someone I didn't recognize. I didn't know what else to do, Mom, she said in a small, broken voice. I felt like I was losing everything, my freedom, my future, myself. I thought if I could just get away, get some money, maybe I could start fresh, away from everything here. I could feel my chest tighten as I listened to her words. Start fresh? I repeated softly, trying to understand. What do you mean, Emily? You've always had everything you need here. You've never had to hide from me. We've always worked together to solve problems, to get through difficult times. Why did you think you had to leave? I don't know, Mom, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I just couldn't breathe here anymore. You don't understand. You've always been so focused on making everything perfect for us, but I never had the chance to figure things out for myself. It felt like I was just stuck. I sat back, my mind racing. I had always tried my best for her. I had worked hard to give Emily the life I thought she deserved, to give her the opportunities I never had. I had thought we were close, that we shared everything. And yet here I was, learning for the first time that she had been quietly drowning under the weight of expectations, of everything I had hoped for her. I had given her everything, but in doing so, I had failed to notice the pressure building within her. How had I missed this? You could have told me, Emily, I said quietly, my voice shaking. I've always been here for you. I wanted to be here for you. Why didn't you just come to me? Why didn't you let me help you before things got this far? She wiped her tears away, her eyes pleading for understanding. I didn't think you would understand. I thought you would be disappointed in me. I thought maybe you'd think I was just being selfish, and I couldn't handle that. I couldn't bear the thought of losing you too. The rawness of her confession hit me like a wave, and for a moment I felt my own walls crumble. This wasn't about money or betrayal. This wasn't about accusations or lies. This was about fear. Fear that she had never truly measured up, fear that she was just a burden, that the love I had for her was conditional. And that thought, it broke my heart more than anything. Emily, listen to me, I said, my voice thick with emotion. You are not a burden. You never were. And I would never be disappointed in you for feeling lost. We all feel lost sometimes. It's part of growing up. But you have to trust me when I say that you don't have to go through this alone. I'm your mother. I'll always be here for you, no matter what. But I need you to be honest with me. I need to know everything, all of it, so that I can help you. She looked up at me, her face a mixture of relief and guilt. I'm so sorry, Mom. I didn't want to hurt you. I just didn't know how to tell you how scared I was. I didn't know how to say that I felt like I was losing everything, that I couldn't find my way. I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. I know, sweetheart, but we're going to work through this, together. No more secrets, no more hiding. We'll figure this out, okay? She nodded silently, and we sat in silence for a few moments, both of us processing everything that had just been said. I could feel the weight of the conversation hanging in the air, but at the same time, something was starting to shift. The tension between us had lifted, just slightly. We were beginning to understand each other again, to connect in a way that felt like it had been lost for a long time. I reached out and gently placed my hand on hers. You're going to be okay, Emily. We're going to get through this, I promise. But from now on, you need to be honest with me. You can't go through this by yourself anymore. She squeezed my hand, her eyes filled with gratitude and shame. I will, Mom. I swear. I never meant for any of this to happen. I'm just so sorry. I pulled her into a hug, holding her close as she continued to cry softly. I could feel her trembling in my arms, and for a moment, I just held her, letting the quiet comfort of our embrace speak the words that neither of us could say. The road to rebuilding our relationship wouldn't be easy, and I knew that. But I also knew that we had taken the first step toward healing. As the day wore on, I made a promise to myself that I would never again let Emily feel like she had to go through life alone. She was my daughter, and no matter what challenges we faced, we would face them together. I would be there to guide her, to help her find her way, and most importantly, I would make sure she knew that I would always love her, no matter what. But as we sat together, reflecting on everything that had happened, I couldn't shake one thought from my mind. There was still more to uncover. There were still pieces of this puzzle that hadn't been put together, and the truth was that Emily's actions hadn't come from nowhere. There had to be more to the story, more to what was really going on in her life. I needed to know everything, and I wasn't going to stop until I did. And so, with a heavy heart, but a renewed sense of determination, I promised myself that I would uncover the rest of the truth, no matter how painful it might be. The journey ahead was going to be difficult, but I was ready to face whatever came next. The days following our conversation were a blur. Emily and I spent more time together, trying to mend the deep rift that had formed between us. It wasn't easy. There was still a wall between us, one built from lies, fear, and misunderstandings. But I could feel the shift. She was trying. I was trying. We were both walking down the long road of healing, but the journey felt uncertain. Every word that was spoken, every small gesture of affection, seemed like a tentative step forward. Still, something was nagging at me. Despite the breakthrough, despite Emily's apology, I knew that there was more to the story. She had admitted to trying to frame me for stealing, to manipulating the situation for her own gain. But I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just about money or an escape plan. There were deeper issues, things that Emily wasn't ready to share with me yet. I decided to wait, hoping she would open up on her own. After all, I had always been there for her, and I had to trust that she would come to me when she was ready. But with each passing day, I couldn't ignore the growing sense of urgency. It wasn't just about fixing our relationship anymore. It was about uncovering the full truth. If I had learned anything over the past few weeks, it was that the truth was something that couldn't be left in the dark. It was something that needed to be confronted, even when it was uncomfortable. One evening, as I sat in the living room, the sound of Emily's footsteps approaching caught my attention. She had been distant that afternoon, locked away in her room. I had respected her need for space, but now I could sense something was different. She had been avoiding me for hours, her face a mix of anxiety and guilt. I knew she was wrestling with something she hadn't shared yet. She stopped in the doorway and hesitated, her eyes avoiding mine. "Mom?" Her voice trembled, and I could see that she was on the verge of something big. "Emily, come sit with me," I said softly, trying to keep my voice calm despite the pounding of my heart. "I think it's time we talk. Really talk." She nodded slowly and walked over to the couch. Her hands were trembling as she sat beside me, her eyes downcast. I could see that the weight of what she was about to reveal was pressing on her, and I knew that this moment would be pivotal for us. The air between us felt thick with anticipation, and I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "Mom," she began quietly, "there's something I haven't told you. Something that's been eating at me for a long time. And I know I've hurt you, and I'm so sorry, but I need to be honest with you." I nodded, my heart aching for her. "Emily, you know you can tell me anything. I'm here, always." She exhaled slowly, her hands gripping the fabric of her jeans. "I don't know where to start. But you need to know that it wasn't just the money. It wasn't just about getting away from you or the house or the life I felt trapped in. There's more. There's something deeper that I've been hiding, and I don't know how to fix it. But I need to tell you." I reached for her hand, offering the comfort she desperately needed. "Take your time, Emily. Whatever it is, we'll face it together." She nodded, swallowing hard, and then she began. "I've been struggling with depression for a long time, Mom. Longer than I can remember. And I've never told you about it because I didn't want to worry you. I didn't want to disappoint you, but it's been suffocating me, and I didn't know how to get out of it. I've been pretending everything is fine, but it's not. I felt so lost, and the more I tried to pretend, the worse it got. And when I started feeling like I was losing control, I did something I regret. I tried to manipulate you. I thought if I could make you feel guilty, make you see how unhappy I was, then maybe you would give me what I needed. But instead, I pushed you away. Her voice faltered, and tears began to well in her eyes. I could see the pain in her face, the torment that had been hidden behind her walls for so long. She was breaking down in front of me, and I knew that this was the moment I had been waiting for, when she would finally let me in, when she would let me see the full truth. I didn't want to hurt you, she continued, her voice barely above a whisper, but I didn't know how to fix myself. And when I felt like I was drowning, I made the wrong choice. I thought if I could just get out, if I could leave and find some kind of escape, I'd feel better. But that wasn't the answer. I realize now that I was only making things worse, and I hurt you in the process. I sat there, stunned by the depth of what she was saying. My heart broke for her, for the pain she had been carrying alone all this time. She had felt invisible, suffocated by her own struggles, and instead of reaching out to me, she had pushed me away. I could see now how much she had been hiding, how much she had been carrying on her shoulders. I knew this wasn't just about her accusations or the money. This was about her trying to find a way to cope with the darkness she had been living in. "Emily," I said softly, squeezing her hand, "you don't have to go through this alone. I'm here for you, always. You don't have to carry this burden on your own anymore. I had no idea you were feeling like this, but now that I know, I'm not going anywhere. We'll face this together, okay?" She nodded, tears streaming down her face, and I pulled her into a tight embrace. "I'm so sorry, Mom," she whispered. "I never meant to hurt you. I just didn't know how to ask for help." "You don't have to apologize," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "You were trying to find your way, and you were struggling. I should have seen it sooner, but I'll do everything I can now to help you. We'll get through this, Emily. You're not alone." She clung to me, and I could feel the weight lifting off her shoulders as she allowed herself to cry. We stayed like that for a long time, just holding each other in the silence. For the first time in a long time, I felt like we were truly connected again. But as the tears finally subsided and the room grew quiet, I knew that this was just the beginning. The road to healing wouldn't be easy. Emily had a long journey ahead of her, and so did I. But together, we could face anything. As she pulled away, wiping her eyes, she looked at me with a new sense of determination. "Mom, I don't know what's next. I don't know how to fix everything, but I want to start. I want to get better, and I want to make things right between us." "We will," I said, my voice steady with resolve. "We will get through this, but remember, this is a process. We have to take it one day at a time, and no matter what happens, we're going to do it together." And so, with those words, we began the next chapter of our journey, one filled with hope, one that would bring us closer together and help us heal the wounds that had been inflicted by fear, miscommunication, and pain. But as I looked into Emily's eyes, I couldn't help but feel that there was still more to come. We had uncovered the truth, yes, but the road ahead would require more than just understanding. It would require patience, forgiveness, and a commitment to rebuilding what had been broken, and together we would face whatever challenges came our way. The days that followed our conversation were both a relief and a challenge. Emily and I had finally crossed the threshold of truth. The weight of her confession, of everything she had been carrying on her shoulders, had left us both exhausted but hopeful. It wasn't going to be easy. Rebuilding trust, unearthing the layers of fear, guilt, and hurt would take time. But we had made the first step, and that, in itself, felt like progress. That first week after Emily's confession was a blur. There were moments of tension when neither of us knew exactly what to say or how to act. But there were also moments of quiet understanding, moments when we'd simply sit together and talk about everything, about the past, the present, and the uncertain future ahead of us. Those conversations were difficult, but they were necessary. Each word, each shared moment, was a brick being placed in the foundation of our renewed relationship. I had spent so much of my life focused on trying to be the best mother I could be, always striving to be everything for Emily. And in doing that, I had missed the signs. I hadn't noticed her struggle, her fear, or the isolation that had been eating away at her. I had been so focused on the outward image of everything being fine that I had neglected to see the quiet pain building within her. Emily's depression was something I had never fully understood until now. I had always thought that if you just worked hard enough, if you just pushed through, you could overcome anything. I was wrong. It wasn't that simple. Life wasn't as clear-cut as I had imagined. But through this, I had learned something valuable. We all have our battles, our invisible scars, and sometimes the people closest to us are the ones who need help the most. I had learned that love was more than just being there in the good times. It was about being present in the difficult moments, in the moments when words couldn't fix things, and in the moments when silence spoke louder than any words ever could. But even with all this newfound understanding, the road ahead wasn't going to be easy. Emily had a lot of work to do, and so did I. We began seeing a therapist together. At first, it felt like an intimidating step. Emily wasn't keen on the idea, but she agreed. I had convinced her that we needed to face the truth about her depression, about her feelings, and about everything that had led to her actions. I knew that she couldn't face it alone, and I couldn't let her either. We would work through this together, with the help of someone who could guide us through the complexities of her emotions. Therapy was a slow and sometimes painful process. Emily would talk, and I would listen, sometimes with tears in my eyes, because the truth of what she had been hiding was more than I had ever anticipated. Each session peeled back another layer, and each revelation was like an arrow to my heart. But as the weeks went on, I could see a change in her. It was subtle at first, but it was there. She was starting to open up, to let go of some of the pain she had been carrying. And then there was the matter of the lies she had told me, the manipulation, the accusations of theft, the secret savings. There were times when I felt like I couldn't trust her again, when the betrayal seemed too much to bear. But we had to face those truths too. The hurt, the anger, the disbelief, they were all part of the healing process. I couldn't pretend that everything was fine after what had happened. But I could choose to forgive, to move forward with the understanding that we were both flawed, and that together we could rebuild. Emily had apologized countless times. She had confessed, she had cried, and she had owned up to everything she had done. And I had forgiven her, but forgiveness was a journey in itself. It wasn't a simple, one-time act. It was a process. There were days when I felt angry again, when the memories of her betrayal resurfaced, and I had to remind myself of the promise I had made, to be there for her, to help her heal, and to love her no matter what. And so, we continued our journey of rebuilding. Each day, we took one step forward, sometimes 2 steps back, but we never gave up. Our relationship was not the same as it had been, but it was different in a way that allowed us both to grow. We learned to communicate better, to listen to each other without judgment, and to embrace the vulnerability that came with being truly honest. One evening, a few months after that pivotal conversation, Emily sat across from me at the dinner table, her face softer than it had been in weeks. She smiled at me, a real smile this time, one that reached her eyes. It was the first time I had seen that smile in a long while. "Mom, I've been thinking," she said, her voice calm, her tone steady. "I'm not okay yet, but I'm working on it, and I want you to know that I'm really trying. I know I hurt you, and I hate that I did that, but I promise I'm doing better. I'm going to keep trying, one day at a time." My heart swelled with pride. I could see it now, the girl I had raised, the young woman who was starting to take control of her own life again. She wasn't fully healed yet, and neither was I, but we were both on the path to healing, and that was enough for me. "You're doing great, Emily," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "I'm proud of you, and I'll always be here for you, no matter what. We'll get through this together." The truth was, I was proud of her. I was proud of how far she had come, how much courage it took for her to face her fears, to confront her own darkness, and to start rebuilding not just her life, but our relationship. It hadn't been easy, and there were still more challenges ahead, but I had faith in her. I had faith in us. As the weeks turned into months, I watched Emily grow in ways I never expected. She began to open up more to her friends, started going out again, and even began pursuing things that made her happy. Things that had always been on the back burner while she was battling her internal struggles. It wasn't a straight path, and there were still days when the weight of everything would come crashing down on her. But she was learning to cope, to face the pain head on, and to trust that she could get through it. I was learning too. I was learning to forgive myself for not noticing sooner, for not being there for her when she needed me the most. I had made mistakes, but I wasn't going to let them define me or define our relationship. I was learning to be patient, to trust the process, and to believe that, in time, everything would work out. As for the secrets, the lies, and the accusations, those were now part of our past, part of the journey we had walked together. They didn't define us. What defined us now was the strength we had found in each other, the love that had never truly disappeared, and the bond that we were slowly rebuilding, piece by piece. And as I watched Emily laugh with her friends one afternoon, her face lit up with that same smile she had given me at dinner, I knew that we had made it through the storm. We weren't the same people we had been before, but we were stronger for it. We had learned from our mistakes, and we had learned that family in its purest form was about understanding, forgiveness, and love. As the sun set outside, casting a warm glow across the living room, I couldn't help but feel a sense of peace wash over me. We still had a long road ahead, but I knew that we would face it together. We would rebuild, we would heal, and we would emerge stronger than before.